Hey everyone, Chris here at Fenglade Farm. I just thought I'd do a quick article on why I use certain soil foods in different places. I was talking to some people yesterday and I kind of realised that it wasn't entirely clear, so I thought we'd go over and have a look at some of the different things I do to feed the food forest here. I plant most of my vegetables in compost, and compost is generally comprised of about 15 to 20 parts of carbon to about 1 part of nitrogen. If you can have a look down here, you can see that it's quite a fine sort of material, and there is quite carbon dense materials in it, like this stick here, but mainly it's quite sandy and loamy. If you just scrape away some of the surface, you can see it's quite damp under there, so it does hold quite a lot of moisture, but the top does dry out quite quickly. And given it's sandy, it's also quite well drained. So vegetables are planted in compost. They do quite well. I tend to plant more woody, shrubby type plants directly into mulch, and I don't really give them a lot of compost at all. This is a josta berry, and you can see it's doing quite well. And by woody, what I mean is, if you have a look at the base of it, I mean that's quite solid, and it lives for a few seasons. Now if you have a look at the mulch, I mean, you can see it's comprised of a lot more coarser materials, and if you dig away at that, you can see that the mulch actually starts to get finer as it goes further down, and you can see that there's a lot of moisture being retained in that environment. Mulch also has another advantage over compost in that it actually exudes a waxy enzyme which binds all of the materials together, and you can see that the top layer of this mulch is actually quite grey, and what happens is the sun actually bakes it, and the enzymes start binding the materials together, and you can use it to hold back on slow water flows over quite steep areas. And you can see this embankment, which in some places is probably well over 50 degrees, has mulch all the way along it, and that actually stops the ground drying out and allows you to plant things into it, and the plants will eventually take over this area. This mulch has only been here for under 12 months. People are asking me how I go about irrigating my food forest, and the simple answer is I don't. You can see this horse chestnut's doing quite well without any watering. It's well over 3 metres now. And what I do basically is feed it a lot of woody mulch. And the woody mulch is quite good because it captures a lot of water. And you can see we'll just dig a bit of it away. Now I don't water these, so this is just purely rainwater. Just cleared away this patch. You can see a bit of grass growing there, and it's quite dark underneath and moist, and we'll put that back, and you get a lot of fungal growths in spring. The mulch eventually breaks down into good topsoil, and you can see that despite it being in early summer, it's still quite green here. Mulches can take a lot of different forms, and this one is actually quite a high nitrogen mulch, and it's part of the chop and drop process that goes on in the herbage here under the food forest. And if you have a look at this, it's a whole lot of nitrogenous materials. You can pull it away. You can see that underneath it's still very green and damp under there as well too, and this is basically only surviving on rainfall. This material will actually decompose into topsoil within a couple of months, I would suspect. I'm at the base of a cherry tree here, and this is another type of mulch that I bring in, and I've just started experimenting with it this year. It's actually rock crusher dust. It's quite a cheap sort of waste material, but it's actually meant to bring in a lot of minerals to the area. Worm teas are an excellent soil food as well, and you can see this is some of the growth that's kicked off in the leach fields from my worm farm sewage system. And it's pretty massive, and this is quite scary because it's only grown up in about 2 weeks. So if we can have a look under the inspection trap, you can see what's going on. And if you have a look in there, you can see there's quite a few worms hiding from the light, and there's a fair bit of vermicast in there, and water as well. So it's a good thing to keep the herbage growing well over a hot summer. And what I'll be doing is I'll be chopping and dropping this over the next week or two. Chooks are outstanding suppliers of manures as well for fertilising our garden. And you can see here I've used the rake to dig a hole that's actually quite bigger than this australorp. And you can see how deep their litter of mulch is in their run. It's about 30 centimetres, I'd say. And the chooks actually process all woody mulch that I generate, and I leave it in here for them to add their nitrogen to it, and they turn it into good soil food for the trees. Once you start thinking about all of your waste as soil food, you never have to worry about your soil again.